Howdy, everybody. I am Katie Pace, the Hardin County Extension Agent for Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service. This morning, we have with us Chris Moore, who owns Moore Honey. It is a local business in Hardin County, and we're going to go to him to talk to a little bit of how he got involved with bees.
Sounds good, everybody. Yeah, my name's Chris Moore. I'm the crazy guy that keeps honeybees for a living, or tries to anyway. I've been doing this for about 22 years now, and most people in beekeeping and I guess in agriculture grow up in the business, but mine's a little bit different situation. I met a guy at church that I was going to church with, and we were doing some local church projects and got to know him and got to helping him on the side, and I thought it was fascinating. So I went to work for him, and then the year I went to work for him, he unfortunately had to file for bankruptcy. So I got a beginning farm loan through the FSA office, and it's downhill ever since, I guess.
That's funny. I actually interviewed the FSA office director this morning. So they're actually extremely helpful for us. So what does a typical day look like when you're dealing with your bees?
Oh, shoot. Every day is different. I mean, what we do throughout the year is different. The thing I enjoy about doing beekeeping on our scale, which is the commercial scale, is we don't do the same thing for any more than about 3 weeks. It tends to go in different stages. And then we can't stay at home and make honey and make a living, because honey is a world market. Our prices are driven down by imports. There's a lot of fraud in the honey market. So you go to the store and it says local honey. Often it's not local honey. A lot of times it's blended with imported honey, or it may just be straight up imported honey. There's no regulation on it. So we can't stay at home, make honey and make a living. To diversify in our income, we take the same set of bees. We make just as much income on pollination services as we do honey production. So in the beginning of a calendar year, we'll send our bees to California and they'll pollinate almond trees. And then they'll come back here and we'll start new colonies and we'll produce honey here. And then when we get hot and dry, usually late June, the bees don't produce any more honey here. So then during the summer, we might send some to North Dakota to produce some honey up there. The difference in the climate, they will produce honey up there in the summer. And we also transport a bunch to West Texas and pollinate seedless watermelons out in that area, and kind of gets them out of here during hurricane season as well. So they'll come back here late September, and then we've got to prepare them to go through the winter.
That is really interesting. It's all happening in Hardin County, which is great for some of our kids to see there's all kinds of things happening right here at home that you might not know about. I think my last question is, why don't you explain why bees are so important? Because I think that's something that everybody hears, that the bees are disappearing, but they're not really fully understanding why it's such a big.
People don't understand that honeybees produce food. So it's like plants produce flowers. Those flowers have to be cross-pollinated to produce whatever it is they're producing. And there's some crops like blueberries that might produce without bees, but they'll produce larger clusters and a bigger yield if they do have honeybees. So bees are providing all kinds of fruits and vegetables, and even like in the cattle industry, bees pollinate alfalfa seed, which is a huge food for the cattle industry, especially in the dairy industry. So the pollination service is just like I say, we go to California to pollinate almonds. When that almond tree blooms, if that flower is not pollinated, it won't produce a nut. It's 100% dependent on being cross-pollinated. So there's some pictures out there of a produce section with bees and a produce section without bees, and about 2/3 of that produce is gone without the honeybees.
Wow.
And to get to your second part of your question, we are losing nationally. It's like a 35 to 40% loss rate that we lose annually. It's a big issue. We raise raise bees multiple times a year just to try to keep our number of colonies up, because the environment is different than it was 20, 50 years ago. The bees used to have a lot of wildflowers, a lot of nutrition. Farmers used to grow cover crops, had clover for them to feed on in the fall and the early spring, and now that's not something they do anymore. So we have to supplement and give them protein supplements, protein patties, or pollen patties we call it. They get their protein from pollen from flowers. So when they're not blooming, we have to supplement them. So there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes that people are not aware of.
All right. I think that's about all we have time for. Thank you so much for myself, everybody in Hardin County, and Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service.
You bet. Thank you.